Recorded Books and One Click Digital present Chance Developments, stories by Alexander McCall Smith. Narrated by Jamie Jackson, John Keating, Robert Ian Mackenzie, Davina Porter, and Graham Rowat. Author's Note. Some years ago, I was invited by the distinguished American Museum curator, Robert Flynn Johnson, to write an introduction to a book he was about to publish. This book was a collection of orphaned photographs, old black-and-white photographs that had no clear provenance and featured unknown people in all sorts of situations. In that introduction, I chose to create stories around some of these photographs. Very short stories in that case, and most of them highly unlikely. I enjoyed the experience so much that I decided that one day I would do an entire book of photographically inspired stories. Recently, I wrote a book about Edinburgh based on the magnificent collection of photographs owned by the conservation body Historic Environment Scotland. I asked my editor for that book, Jamie Crawford, if he might find me a selection of black-and-white photographs of people from the past so that I could imagine the stories behind the images. He came up with an intriguing collection, and the result is this offering. We know nothing about the real people in these photographs. By the age of the prints, none of them will still be alive. These stories imagine who they might have been and what their personal history was. The people in the stories, then, are not the same as the people in the photographs. Rather, they are suggested by them. They are all love stories in one sense or another, because love lies at the heart of our experience of the world. They are also about friendship, love's cognate, and frequently both its prequel and sequel. Love transforms the people in these stories as it may transform any of us. In some cases it will not be reciprocated as fully as it might be, but if that happens we could do worse than to remember the advice of the poet W.H. Auden, who tells us that, if equal affection cannot be, then let the more loving one be me. I have always thought that those lines can be read in such a way as somehow to express an entire philosophy of life, a guide to all of us on our journey.
Sister Flora's First Day of Freedom. Narrated by Davina Porter. 1. They did their best to be generous to Sister Flora when she left the convent, but the dresses they gave her left something to be desired. A great deal, in fact, according to some. "Well," muttered one of the lay women who helped with the vegetable garden, "did you see the outfits they gave her? You wouldn't think it was 1961. More like 1931. She was right about the dresses, of which there were two. Both had been donated to the convent by the Women's Guild at the local church, and both were irretrievably dull. One was made of beige bombazine, the other of a rough wool fabric of the sort that a rural schoolmistress might have worn decades earlier. Both had been retrieved from somebody's wardrobe. Both had a faint odour of camphor, although neither appeared to have suffered any moth damage. They also gave her an unbecoming grey cardigan, a plain full-length coat, and a pair of shoes that were slightly too small. The shoes at least were new, although they too were far from fashionable. Then there was a small suitcase, a sponge bag of toiletries, and an envelope containing £15. "We might have entertained the possibility of giving you a slightly larger sum," said the Mother Superior, "but since you are going to be living with your aunt, you will have no rent to pay, and I imagine your aunt, being the pious woman she is, will provide necessities." Flora smiled. "I don't really deserve anything," she said. "I brought nothing with me when I came 10 years ago, and I don't think I should leave with anything." "That's a very good attitude," the Mother Superior continued. "Mind you, I gather that money is not going to be a problem. This sum is purely to tide you over until such time as your arrangements are in place." "I have been most fortunate," she said. "I'm not intending to forget that, Mother." "No," said the Mother Superior. "I don't imagine you will."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?